Global headlines today: US-Iran war escalates, Jordan attack, Ukraine, China-Philippines tensions, and more. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. These are the biggest global headlines making news around the world today, July 18th, 2026. In today's update, the United States launches a 7th consecutive night of strikes on Iran. 2 American service members are killed in Jordan, while another remains missing. New surveillance footage reveals an assassination attempt in Monaco. The Philippines condemns a controversial Chinese state media video. Political tensions grow in Britain over oil and gas drilling. Hungary's president agrees to step down. And we look at the dramatic rise and fall of Ukraine's drone warfare mastermind. Let's begin. US launches 7th night of Iran strikes as Hormuz conflict escalates. The conflict between the United States and Iran continues to intensify. The US military carried out its 7th consecutive night of airstrikes, targeting what officials described as Iranian military infrastructure and surveillance facilities linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The conflict between the United States and Iran intensified on Friday as the US military launched a 7th consecutive night of airstrikes against Iranian targets. According to US Central Command, the operation began at around 7 p.m. GMT and was aimed at further degrading Iran's military capabilities. The latest strikes are part of an expanding campaign targeting infrastructure that Washington says supports attacks on international shipping and regional military operations. Iranian media reported explosions in several locations, including Sirik, Avaz, and Yazd, as air defenses responded across different parts of the country. Meanwhile, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claimed that 2 oil tankers struck naval mines in the Strait of Hormuz and exploded. The US military rejected that claim, saying there was no evidence to support it. The fighting continued into Saturday. Iranian state media reported that the Revolutionary Guard launched attacks targeting locations it identified as military and intelligence facilities used by the United States in Bahrain and Kuwait. Those reports also claimed strikes against a naval fuel support facility and communications infrastructure. Officials in Kuwait temporarily suspended operations at Kuwait International Airport amid reported missile and drone threats. Earlier in the day, Iranian state television said US airstrikes struck several bridges in Hormuzgan province, disrupting transport routes linked to Bandar Abbas, Iran's largest commercial port. Additional strikes reportedly targeted facilities in Chabahar, including a surveillance tower that US officials said had been used by the Revolutionary Guard to monitor shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Electrical infrastructure and Iran Shah Airport were also reported among the targets. The growing conflict is beginning to affect daily life inside Iran. The country's energy ministry has urged residents to reduce electricity and air conditioning use after damage to parts of the power network, combined with extreme summer temperatures, placed additional strain on the national grid. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the world's most strategically important waterways, with a significant share of global oil exports passing through it. Any prolonged disruption could have consequences for energy markets, shipping, and the wider global economy. As both sides continue military operations and exchange competing claims, the international community is closely monitoring developments amid fears that the conflict could expand further across the region. 2 US service members killed in Jordan. The US military has confirmed that 2 American service members were killed during operations in Jordan. Another service member remains missing, prompting an ongoing search and rescue effort. Military officials have not released many operational details, citing security concerns. The incident comes as American forces across the Middle East remain on heightened alert amid growing regional instability. The conflict between the United States and Iran has taken another deadly turn, with the US military confirming that 2 American service members were killed in Jordan, while defending against what it described as Iranian ballistic missile and drone attacks. US Central Command said another service member remains missing in action as search efforts continue. According to the US military, the latest casualties bring the total number of American personnel killed since the conflict began to 16, with more than 400 others reported wounded. Meanwhile, the war of words between Washington and Tehran has intensified. In a written statement, Iran's supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei dismissed President Donald Trump's commitments as worthless and invalid, accusing the United States of repeatedly violating agreements reached with Tehran. The remarks underline the deepening diplomatic divide as hopes for renewed negotiations continue to fade. Inside Iran, the country's health ministry says U.S. military strikes carried out since July 6 have killed at least 50 people and injured more than 500 others. Those figures have not been independently verified, and casualty reports from conflicts are often difficult to confirm in real time. Iran is also reporting growing damage to civilian infrastructure. The National Water Company says approximately 10,000 residents across 20 villages have been left without running water following overnight attacks that damaged water facilities. The conflict is increasingly affecting neighboring countries as well. Iran's military says it launched strikes targeting what it described as U.S. military assets in Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait following the latest American air campaign. Kuwaiti authorities reported that 2 power and water facilities were targeted during the attacks. Officials are continuing to assess the damage while monitoring the security situation across the Gulf. With military operations now extending beyond Iran's borders, analysts warn that the conflict risks drawing more countries into an already volatile regional crisis. The coming days are expected to be critical as both sides continue military operations while international efforts to prevent a wider war face mounting challenges. New footage shows assassination attempt in Monaco. Authorities in Monaco are investigating an apparent assassination attempt involving a prominent Ukrainian businessman. Newly released surveillance footage reportedly captures the moments surrounding the attack. The businessman survived the incident and is currently receiving medical treatment. Investigators are examining possible motives, including business disputes and political connections. No official suspects have been publicly identified, and authorities say the investigation remains active. Philippines condemns Chinese state media video. The Philippine government has demanded that Chinese state media remove a controversial video that allegedly depicted Filipinos as monkeys. Officials in Manila described the video as racist, offensive, and harmful to diplomatic relations. Diplomatic tensions between the Philippines and China have intensified after the Philippine government strongly condemned an AI-generated video published by China's state-run newspaper, China Daily. The video, which appeared on the outlet's Facebook account on July 10th, portrayed a monkey dressed in traditional Filipino clothing, being manipulated by oversized arms representing the United States and Japan. In the animation, the monkey is insulted before holding up a sheet bearing the words South China Sea Arbitration Award. The character is then thrown into the sea and blasted by a ship's water cannon. The Philippine government described the video as racist, offensive, distressing, and unacceptable. Officials said the imagery dehumanizes Filipinos and called on China Daily to immediately remove the content from its social media platforms. The incident has added another layer of tension to the already strained relationship between Manila and Beijing, which have repeatedly clashed over competing territorial claims in the South China Sea. The reference to the South China Sea Arbitration Award is particularly significant. In 2016, an international tribunal ruled overwhelmingly in favor of the Philippines, rejecting many of China's expansive maritime claims. China has consistently rejected that ruling and maintains its claims over much of the disputed waterway. As of the latest reports, the Chinese embassy in Manila has not publicly responded to the Philippine government's protest or to requests for comment regarding the video. The controversy highlights how information campaigns and AI-generated content are becoming increasingly important tools in geopolitical disputes. Analysts warn that such material can inflame public opinion, deepen diplomatic divisions, and complicate efforts to ease tensions between rival nations. For the Philippines, the issue goes beyond a single social media post. Officials say it touches on national dignity and respect, emphasizing that racial stereotyping has no place in international discourse. With relations between the two countries already under pressure over maritime disputes and regional security, observers will be watching closely to see whether the incident prompts a formal response from Beijing or further diplomatic action from Manila. Political debate is intensifying in the United Kingdom after reports suggested Andy Burnham could reconsider opposition to new oil and gas drilling. Such a move could trigger criticism from environmental campaigners and members of the Labour Party who oppose expanding fossil fuel production. Supporters argue increased domestic energy production could strengthen energy security and reduce dependence on imports. The issue remains politically sensitive as Britain balances climate goals with economic pressures. Hungary's president agrees to step down. Hungary's president has agreed to resign after Parliament voted in favour of removing him from office. The political development follows weeks of growing pressure and intense debate within the country's leadership. Government officials are now preparing constitutional procedures to select a successor. Observers say the transition could have important implications for Hungary's domestic politics and its relationship with European partners. The rise and fall of Ukraine's drone warfare mastermind. One of Ukraine's most influential military innovators has reportedly fallen from prominence. Known for helping transform Ukraine's drone warfare capabilities, the commander played a major role in developing strategies that reshaped modern battlefield tactics. For years, Ukraine's drone program became one of the defining features of its defense strategy. Low-cost, unmanned aircraft were used to gather intelligence, strike military targets, and challenge a much larger and better-equipped opponent. Behind much of that transformation was a team of officials and military innovators who accelerated the country's investment in drone technology. One of the most prominent figures associated with that effort was widely credited with helping build Ukraine's domestic drone industry into one of the fastest-growing defense sectors in Europe. Under his leadership, Ukrainian manufacturers rapidly expanded production, supplying thousands of reconnaissance and attack drones to the country's armed forces. The strategy changed the battlefield. Small, relatively inexpensive drones were used to monitor enemy movements, destroy armored vehicles, disrupt supply routes, and carry out precision strikes. Military analysts around the world have described the conflict as the first major war in which drones became central to nearly every aspect of combat operations. However, recent political developments have brought an unexpected change in leadership. As part of a broader government reshuffle aimed at addressing political pressures and improving wartime coordination, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky approved changes affecting several senior officials connected to the country's defense and technology sectors. Supporters argue that the leadership changes are part of an effort to strengthen coordination between the military, government ministries, and Ukraine's rapidly expanding defense industry. Critics, however, fear the departure of experienced officials could slow innovation at a time when drone technology remains one of Ukraine's greatest military advantages. Despite the political setback, many analysts believe the systems and manufacturing networks established over the past several years are now deeply embedded within Ukraine's defense sector. Drone production continues to expand, with new long-range systems and autonomous technologies expected to play an even greater role in future operations. The story reflects a broader reality of modern conflict. Military innovation alone does not guarantee political stability. Even successful wartime leaders can face major political challenges as governments adapt to changing battlefield conditions, economic pressures, and public expectations. As the war continues, the effectiveness of Ukraine's drone strategy and the leadership guiding it will remain closely watched by allies, adversaries, and military planners around the world. Those are today's biggest global headlines. Which story do you think will have the greatest impact on world events? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this update, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our daily global news coverage. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next update.